Hi, I am Deepa and I practice as a life and a leadership coach. And I'm very happy to start this series called The Leader's Voice, an inside out perspective. Now, this series aims to hear and amplify the voice of leaders who are extremely successful in their respective field, but also make time for inner mastery or self mastery. The hypothesis is that inner mastery leads to sustained outer success. And we aim to showcase that to the world of successful professionals so that they can embark and sustain their inner journey to achieve sustained professional and personal success. And our guest today is Srikanth. Srikanth, welcome to this space.
Thank you, Deepa. Thanks for having me on this show, and what a wonderful series to get started with.
Thank you. Thank you. Allow me to introduce you to all those who will be viewing this series. So, Srikanth has more than 20 years of experience. I'm just going to put my specs on. Srikanth has more than 20 years of experience in the management consulting sector and has held positions that demonstrate his core competencies in strategy, business growth, operations management, vendor management, and the like. He's passionate about growing and nurturing teams, creating value for stakeholders, and connecting with industry forums. He is a certified coach by Marshall Goldsmith and is a lifelong learner who has completed several courses and certifications in leadership, communication, and innovation. Currently, as the Chief Operating Officer at a large consulting company, Shrikant leads a large team of professionals who service clients across geographies. Outside of work, he enjoys podcasting, reading, coaching, mentoring, and traveling. So I got acquainted with Shrikant in 2023 as he joined the Purnam community, which is a community of conscious living practitioners. And recently, I got introduced to him even closer when we are a part of a cohort which focuses on self discovery through Indic wisdom. For me, when I look at him and when I look at you, Shrikant, you champion the cause that I stand for, inner mastery leading to outer success. And that's the reason I invited you to this series on the leader's voice.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction. I really feel privileged to be on this first episode of your series. Thank you so much. Looking
Yeah.
forward to this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, inner mastery leads to outer success. Your outer success is out there. What do you make of this, and how has it been in your journey that inner mastery led to outer success?
Well, I would say inner mastery is an ongoing exercise. I don't think anybody can call themselves as they have mastered
True.
internally and they have mastered externally as well. Like you mentioned earlier on, I firmly believe in this notion of lifelong learning. And it's like an iceberg. If you look at it, what you see externally, the titles, the rewards, the roles that you play, for all of this to happen, lot of it is underneath it. That's how I kind of see that iceberg model. And what are those underneath things is what you do to kind of get there. If you were to ask a sports person how did he or she become a Wimbledon champion or anything, it's not because of the 5 set they played on that particular day that make them a champion, right? It is what they did prior to that, the hours and hours of practice they put it on the practicing field, the exercise they did, the work they did behind the scene is what made them champions. And there's lot that we can learn in the corporate world as well from the sports world. Is what makes us champions is the work that we do behind the scenes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Lovely metaphor again to bring the iceberg. And when I think of an iceberg, I also think of an onion because they are like layers. They get peeled and something unveils itself. And as you talked about the sports person, it's a mind game, isn't it? Because
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah, sure, go ahead.
No, absolutely. It is, isn't it? Though We all want to be successful. We want to have success come in our way, fame, all of it. But it doesn't happen just like that. There has to be that work that needs to happen. And the work is manifold. It's just not about going back and kind of signing up yourself for a course. That can be in work, because you need to demonstrate to yourself that you broaden your knowledge base. You got to go deeper in terms of the field that you're operating. You got to go wide, because in today's day and world, where we're talking about the UCA world, it's just not about what you know deep, but it also what you know wide. So you need to kind of bring that. And in today's world, we not only talk about the technical skills, it's also about the soft skills, so to say. I think somebody so beautifully said, it's no longer soft skills, it's called as power skills. These are
Yeah.
the skills that will amplify you, that gives you the power to be the leader that you want to be. What are those power skills? It is communication, it is negotiation, it is the ability to have that emotional quotient, emotional resilient when it matters. So all of these things adds up.
Absolutely. Wow, this is so beautiful. Power skills and not soft skills. Yeah, lovely, lovely. When you talked about emotional intelligence, the one of the aspects of inner mastery is mastery over the thoughts and emotions. And emotions to me is like air. They are there right now. I may be happy. In an hour, I could be sad, or some other emotion can take over. And again, they operate in layers. I can show anger, but actually I may be sad inside, and it's just coming as anger. So uh, this whole aspect of mastering your emotions, and especially as a leader, it has its effects in managing people. How do you go about managing your emotions?
I think for each their own. Right? There's no one magic pill to say that can do this and you would kind of be that emotionally resilient person, or you will have higher emotional quotient. Each one of us have to figure what works for individuals. For somebody, having that mastery or having that emotional intelligence can be that I wake up in the morning, go out for a run. That gives me peace. That gives me that internal coherence. For somebody, it can just be that I wake up, read certain books that helps me to kind of level set myself as how I need to operate day in, day out. For somebody, it can just be meditation. So being in self, observing their own thoughts, emotions, and how do they respond or react to it as as the day, as the week progresses. So there is no one straightforward way to say, okay, this is what it is. You do that. For me, meditation has helped. So I've been a big practitioner of meditation that helps me to kind of stay in the moment, to
Mm.
analyze what thoughts come through. And again, like you rightly said, Deepa, emotion goes back and forth. It's just not that it's the same state all through the day, right? Certain moments, certain individuals, certain things will change the emotional state that you are in. But developing that ability to realize what state are you're in and to react to it, right? I think in one of his famous books, Viktor Frankl mentioned about this, right? So E plus R is equal to A. That's a formula if anybody were to kind of adapt. What is E? E is how you kind of respond to a situation. R is how you respond to the situation. E is the event, and A is the action that kind of comes out to it. So between that event and the action is something that you can choose. What you choose becomes your response. You can choose to respond negatively to it. You can choose to stay calm and deal with it, or you can choose to kind of be aggressive with it. That R is individual to individual. The
Yes.
more you kind of do your daily practices, like I said, it can be run, it can be read, it can be meditate, it can be anything that people would want, is when the R becomes stronger. And then your ability to respond to E, you can choose, and that determines your action.
Yes, yes. This is one of my favorite. Between the stimulus, and the response is all the choices, and the pause really gives you that option to make those choices. I just love it. So can you share an example from your professional life where you really applied it and You made certain choices which was very beneficial to you as a leader and to the entire team.
Well, I wouldn't say if it was beneficial or not, but I will
Okay.
share what my practices are. Is 8 out of 10 times I don't react to situations if it is negative in nature. Somebody sends you an email accusing you of not doing certain things or letting you know that, okay, your team has not delivered ABC. What's our immediate reaction? Oh, maybe our teams has not delivered. Maybe the customer is right, because we are all honed into this whole notion that customer is king. While that is the case, but there's always a story behind a story. So I always make it a point not to react to any of those adverse emails or responses or comments then and there.
Hmm.
Take time. It doesn't mean that as an individual, as a business leader, as a leader, you don't take action. You do. But everybody's action need not be the same. Your way of taking action is okay, taking the input, assess what actually happened, give the other person his or her version of the story, and then come to a solution that is in line with the holistic view of what the situation warranted it to be. So, my practice has always been not to respond in a knee jerk fashion, and that has helped me in good stead in making decisions that is a lot more holistic. That doesn't, you don't kind of end up repeating at a later point of time saying, like you mentioned, why did I not pause in making that decision rather than why did I just respond to that? So
Yeah.
I think that helps to kind of respond at your pace. And at your pace is not about 2 days, 3 days, or 2 weeks. It's just that extra minute, that extra hour for you to respond. More so, lot of the emails, when the emails that comes your way, which is not nice, sleep over it. This is something I learned from my boss, or something I practice as well, is there's no rush for you to respond to that angry email. Sleep over it. Then the next day morning, Deepa, 60 to 70% of the time, I feel the response was not worth it. Rather, just pick up the phone, talk to the individual, saying what happened. And you are in a much better position to find resolution rather than an emotional email getting an emotional response.
Yes, yes. It's beautiful. This reminds me of this cracker, during Diwali. You just remove that fizz and then, it doesn't fly off, especially the rocket. And in fact, emotion is like that. It's got that energy. And it's like the rocket, you just put the agarbatti and then it goes fizz. So
Yes.
what you're saying is pause and really make a choice whether you want to put that agarbatti to you want to light it up or not, or is there another way to light it up
Yeah.
such that it is not adverse.
And a lot of this comes from a point of I need to prove my point.
That's correct.
Why do you have to prove your point? You
That's correct.
don't have to.
That's correct.
As leaders, the biggest thing that we kind of put onto ourselves, the stress that we put onto ourselves is we got to be the be all know all of everything. We got to kind of put ourselves in the best light. Not necessary. Sometimes your team is a lot more intelligent or may have much better ideas than you. Sometimes the client is right. Just accept it. Sometimes you didn't think through that element that the end customer has looked into it. Have the humility to kind of accept it, go back and work on it. So sometimes when you put this pressure that we got to be at the front end center of everything, is when you have this unrealistic pressure and emotions coming and working against you.
Yeah, it's very true, Srikanth. And what I've observed in my work, coaching leaders is this comes from a lot of insecurity about self. It's where that's where it stems from. A lot of these erroneous beliefs that we have that I'm not good enough, or even limiting beliefs that really chain. And most of it is under the iceberg, which is why it needs those rituals to really shake it off. So rightly said. And because it goes unnoticed, you don't know what to work on. In coaching sessions, that's probably what we look at. What are those erroneous beliefs? Once it comes as a surprise and a shock. Oh, am I insecure? I didn't know that. Maybe if I was secure, I wouldn't have reacted. I would have probably taken time and responded.
Yep.
You know? Yeah. How you being you, how does your ecosystem work this way of you dealing with situations?
I think it's a combination of stuff.
Okay.
One, as an individual, you also need to develop that skill of scanning your ecosystem. Sometimes you want your ecosystem to be in a certain way, but not all situations and environment will be the way that you would want it to be.
Yeah.
So, given what that ecosystem is, how does your own set of values, beliefs, strengths
Yeah.
can play a role in that ecosystem?
Yes.
What changes that you need to make, what course corrections that you need to make is an awareness that one needs to have. Because in an ideal world, you want to work or walk into an ecosystem that you would love to have, but we are all far off from an ideal world. So having that ability to scan what that ecosystem is and then align what you stand, what you have to make adjustments in that ecosystem plays a key role. So I wouldn't say that I would want an X ecosystem for me to thrive, but can I thrive irrespective of what the ecosystem is the ability that we need to develop so that you're not dependent on the ecosystem, but the ecosystem is dependent on you.
Yes. Yes. So you're saying, can I have my calm irrespective of the chaos and not want no chaos? Because that's a myth.
Yeah, because you cannot do away with chaos. If
Yes.
it is work, if it is business, there will be interactions, there will be transactions, there will be things that goes right, there will be things that go wrong. You cannot expect that everything has to be picture perfect. I have a best of relationship with my team, best of relationship with my client. End of the day, I get a 5 on 5 on my appraisal, all of those things. It's an ideal world, utopian world. Doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
things don't work out the way it should, how are you preparing yourself to handle those situations,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that is where a lot of that inner work comes into play. And
Exactly.
the notion is inner work means sit in quietness and do meditation. That's just not that's just one element of it. There's many other elements of it,
Yeah.
right? Like I mentioned earlier on, how are you upskilling yourself? So if you're in a job as a leader and you interact with lot many stakeholders on a day in day out basis, are you going and signing up for a negotiation skill workshop if you find that this is where you're struggling all
Mm.
the time? That is inner work,
Mm.
right? So developing those kind of skill sets, being the better version of yourself every day should be the focus towards being the better professional, better individual. That's my philosophy towards life, Deepa.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're saying operate from your strengths, and if you know something is draining your energy, work on upskilling that
Yes, go work
aspect.
on it. Go
Yeah.
work on it or find a mentor, find a coach saying that this is an area I'm struggling. What do I do? We have enough and more help today than at any point in history of time. So when it is available, why are we not tapping into it?
Yes, absolutely. You mentioned one very important thing. You said the system is what it is. You have to align yourself, your values, your inner, what you stand for. That's the word you used. This brings the importance of self-awareness. And normally, when I say self awareness, so there is those eyes go up, and then leaders would be sponsored for different interventions where self awareness is a part of it. Sometimes it's also treated as a tick in the box. But I heard you say it's important. What's your thought?
It's very important to know what are your strengths and weaknesses. It's very important to be vulnerable to accept saying that I am great at ABC, but I'm not good at DEF. And if it is something that you're not good at, you have two choices to make. One, you yourself go do something about it, learn about it, upskill yourself about it, or find somebody in your ecosystem who can do that. So, as a leader, there are umpteen number of things that takes your time, that distracts you, and you cannot know everything at any given point of time. How much do you kind of accept saying that okay, this is not something that I know, but I know somebody who knows this who can do a good job, and entrust that individual to do the stuff for you. I think that is where it's important to kind of acknowledge saying that what do I know, what do I not know, and how do I plug the gap of what I don't know. That plugging the gap can be multiple things. I
Yeah.
go to a specialist, I upskill myself, or find somebody on my team. But unless until we don't do that, that stress that you mentioned, we build on to that stress because each time, say for example, I'm not great at looking at balance sheets, and my role demands me to look at a balance sheet. I'm struggling with it. Each time the very talk of balance sheet comes in, stress goes up.
Yes.
Instead, what do I do to ensure that that stress is minimized is one of these three things.
Hmm. Very beautifully said. Because, stress happens when I feel I do not have the ability to meet that situation resourcefully. So you are saying that look at that situation, look what resources are needed either for yourself or from the outside, and just to take it and reduce your stress. You can do it for yourself.
Yeah. What is stress end of the day? It is either meeting or not meeting that expectation.
Yeah, correct.
Meeting the expectation is also stress. You're stressing yourself saying that I got to get that coveted title come what may. Or I'm falling short of that coveted title, so I'm building stress either ways.
Mm.
But if you can, and again, all stress is not bad, right? If you can
Yes.
channelize your stress to say that, how can I build the stress that will help me positively to grow as an individual, to thrive as a professional? That stress is good. So sometimes you got to kind of differentiate what is good stress, what is bad stress.
Mm.
Stress that is aiding you, by all means, embrace it, go with it.
Yeah.
Stress that is depleting your energy, making you feel low, is not worth having it. Relook at that
Yes.
element of stress.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Stress that's depleting energy, just take a look at it. I always, this depleting energy bit, I always talk about it in my workshops as, when you have a cut, blood oozes, you have to care for it. But when energy depletes, it's actually like that, but you can't see it.
Yeah.
And because you can't see it, you cannot fix it. So it is so, and it's so important that when energy depletes, it also causes emotional depletion, and then emotions are all flying around. You can't manage that, and that's a cause of illness. So today, if you see in the organizational space, everywhere actually, illness is treated when I'm down, when I have to see a doctor or a hospital, or go to a hospital. But actually illness starts really manifesting much earlier in the psyche, in the mind. What's your view on that?
You are right. I think it is not an overnight thing that happens. It is
Hmm.
an accumulation of lot of small things over a period of time. So that's where it is very important that each one does that kind of an energy audit for themselves, right? So energy audit has components of what stresses me, what gives me joy, what by eating what am I enjoying, by eating what I am not enjoying, by having the company of certain individuals am I thriving, by being in the company of certain individuals is my energy depleting. So when you do this kind of energy audit for yourself, you know, I think do it as an exercise every day, end of every day, just reflect on what did I, from doing what did I get my energy from, by being with whom did I get energy from. When you do this over a period of time, we ourselves will realize what is helping us to thrive, what is pulling us down. And things that is pulling us down is also something related to, okay, am I falling ill for what? Okay,
Hmm.
am I having regular, say, stomach upsets? What am I doing in order to get into that mode? Am I having lack of sleep every day that doesn't give me good energy in the morning? Hence, I'm not my charged up. What is making you to wake up all night? Is it work? Is it OTTs? Is it something else? I think each of it, it's the cause and effect, like we kind of went back
Yeah.
earlier on, right? So you
Yeah.
got to understand that high level of self-awareness is key for everything, be
Yes.
it personal development, professional development, stress management, energy management. The better the awareness is, the more we can come up with things that can help us to solve those challenges.
Yes, very true. In fact, I would like to add that even time management, because that's one of the biggest thing I've heard. I do not have time. Even time management, when you do an energy audit, like you rightly said, you know where to put your energies into and how to manage your time better, how to cut your energy wasters.
Yep. So this is something I keep telling with a lot of my team members is the time is the same for everybody,
Correct.
be it your Prime Minister Modi or anybody else. It's a 24 hours that you get. How we make use of those 24 hours all depends on us. And I read something interesting that stuck on with me for a long period of time, kind of continue to kind of practice that is there is two elements of time management. It is called as how do I find time and how do I make time. When you
Hmm.
always operate with the notion of I don't find time to do ABC, you'll never find time because it is elusive.
Hmm.
But when you operate with the mindset of making time, you make time. We made time for this conversation. We didn't find
Yes.
time.
Yes.
You mentioned earlier on you went for a 10K run. You didn't find time to run. You made time to run for it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
things that are important to us, we make time for it. We not find time for it.
Very
So
true.
the very notion of making time and finding time, when we say find time, that means that's not important to, hence we are finding time. If it is important, it fits into our calendar. So that's how I kind of see how you can kind of deal with your time management element of
This
it.
is so beautiful because I know that if I'm taking on a task which is important to me, I actually use the word I'll make time. But I never connected it to what you're saying. It's so beautiful. And I always find time for things that are important to me. And sometimes I feel guilty that I have not been able to make time for things that are important to me. So I do it the next day, but I
Yeah.
do it.
When you make time, there's no stress around it.
Yes,
But there's a
yes.
lot of stress around it when you are going out finding time.
Finding time. And there's also a fulfillment when you
Yeah.
make time. Yes, so beautiful. Yeah, I just loved this thought, you know. Yeah, lovely, lovely. We've been in this conversation and so many pearls I'm receiving, and I'm sure when this video is out, people will receive too, because what you're saying is the cornerstone is self-awareness, is you're really looking at your energy, looking at upskilling on things which stress you, either yourself or by asking people who have that. You don't have to do it everything yourself. And look at what's bringing that stress to you. Why do you need to feel insecure? It's okay. You don't need to show up best all the time. And I think it's also connected to can I be vulnerable and say I don't know and seek out for help because help is available. So many pearls that you shared today, Shrikant, and so grateful. So to close, is there, a closing remark that you would like to share with the audience?
Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be on your platform to share my thoughts.
Yes,
I
thank you.
am nobody to kind of preach to say that do this, do that. I think, like I said, we are all learners in this world. And from that standpoint, there's no single template. The template, if at all you're looking for, is your own template. What works for me doesn't have to necessarily work for you, and what works for you is not something that should work for somebody else. So, for people watching, listening to this, it starts with you. I think you are the architect of your own life, your own career, your own journey. What you have available is those job aids that will help you to kind of get to do your job more easily. But do not get limited to what somebody has done. For each their own, as they say. So identify what works for you, what makes you to kind of feel happy, feel good about it, and go down that path. And this is a marathon, this is not a sprint. So
Spring.
take time, enjoy. I think the journey is more important than the destination. As you enjoy the journey, the destination can be anything. So have your own template, have fun, and change starts with you, and change is only you, nobody else.
Yeah, yeah. And you never know when the change becomes transformation.
Yes, and that might lead into something else.
Exactly, exactly. Lovely, lovely. It has been a great conversation, Shrikant, and yeah, there's so many things for me to reflect on, and like for everyone. Thank you very much once again. And yeah, my wish and my vision for humanity, and especially leaders out there, the corporate professionals who are there working so hard, is to really deepen self awareness, deepen, look into self, pause, take a look at their emotions, their thoughts, and convert that as energy for their vision, for professional success, for personal success, and fulfillment. That's what I wish for humankind.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Deepa.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me on the show.
Thank you.